Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of STVCastle Chess. This is episode number 12 of STVCastle Chess, and this is titled Overloading on One Side. And straight away, you're going to see just why I titled the episode that. This is Stephen Vitt yet again, posting another chess game that I played recently. A couple days ago, I played this game. And this was against a person with the username KLS64. And this was a very quick game, but nonetheless pretty exciting. Um, as you'll see how this turns out, just the flow of all the exchanges of the pieces and all of the movements going from one side of the board to another, you'll see how almost seamless it is. And of all things, for one opening that I use, which is actually one opening that I definitely use quite often. That would be the Polish opening. Now, what is the Polish opening? For starters, the Polish opening is simply this: b4. That's how I start the game. That's how I've been starting a lot of my games. Now, at first glance, when you see b4, pawn to b4, um, it's not often used as a starting move for the white army for many reasons because it doesn't influence the center. That's true. It does not influence the center. And it's not really developing any of the pieces, aside, of course, from the bishop, which would be move two, bishop to b2. Let's get right to it, and I will show you guys why I believe b4 is a good opening move. b4, my opponent KLS plays e5, which is typical. You go right after the pawn, opening up for the dark square bishop here, right there. Bishop b2. Now I'm not worried if my opponent captures this pawn because I can simply take this pawn back on e5. Queen to e7, protecting the pawn, and also attacking that pawn right there on b4. a3, protect the pawn. d5, trying to uh, secure the center. e3, bishop f5, bishop e2, knight d7, knight f3. So when you get to a position like this, it's obvious that my opponent and myself, we have clear avenues to just castle our kings, which is what we do here on the very next move. KOS, his next move is queenside castle. My next move, kingside castle. And when you have an opportunity to castle the opposite way of your opponent, as seen here, it's always a good strategy because sometimes you have more of a tight, isolated kind of game when both players are castling on the same side. When one player is going this way and another player is going that way, queenside and kingside, it makes for more entertainment. h5. I play d3, move number 8, h4. Now my opponent wants to just go right after my king, trying to develop something here because there's like a connected rook and pawn, which I can see, but I don't pay any mind to that. Knight b to d2, pawn to e4, attacking my knight, So I simply move my knight out of the way, knight d4, bishop goes back, h7, c4. You have to start developing your pieces, including the pawns here. You got to start pushing your pawns forward when you have a formation like this on the queen side here. That's the white army. E takes c3. Bishop moves to f3. Now, I could have easily just done something else here in this position, but knowing I cannot take this back because this bishop right here, the light square bishop, is covering that, protecting it. Simply can't take it. but I think it's a good strategy for my bishop to go up here to f3. Because look at the diagonal. Just highlighting it for a minute here. Pawn takes c4, d takes c4. Knight takes pawn c4. That's exactly what I wanted. Knight g to f6, so my opponent KLS gets his other knight out. Knight to b5. Now this is where I want to pause for a minute and show you guys what's going on here. What is the threat with this move? I'm threatening these two pawns right here. Not immediately, but I'm threatening them. You have to find a way to break down this pawn wall that's been formed by your opponent. You have to find a way to disrupt this. King to b8. Bishop to d4. Now you see a threat here. A double attack on this pawn, on this seemingly defenseless a7 pawn. Black has to do something about it. And KLS chooses knight to b6. Knight takes knight b6. A pawn takes knight b6. So here again, doubled up pawns. And this is a situation where it's not really that great to have doubled up pawns. In other situations, such as the other games that I highlighted not too long ago, it's not too bad to have doubled up pawns. But in this case, it really is not that good to have it. Queen to a4. When you have something like this, you can't mess around. You have to just go right after your opponent. I see an opening here on the a file. Knowing that we have doubled up pawns here, you might as well keep exploiting this. Queen a4, king c8, rook a to c1. Now again, a double attack with the threats. Knight and rook going after the c pawn. It's just about applying pressure when it comes to a situation like this. Knight to d5. KLS wants to try to deflect some of this pressure, at least from the bishop here. Bishop takes knight on d5. Rook takes bishop d5. Bishop takes pawn b6. Now I have no problem at all taking this because look, I have 3 attackers now and my opponent has 3 defenders, but this pawn right here on c7 is very weak. There's really not much KLS can do with this c pawn here. c6, which is really the only move that KLS could have done. Knight to a7 check. Now take note a couple moves ago that I did not go with this knight to a7 check move. That was on purpose. Even when you have an obvious check position, when you have an obvious check move available for you, always look for a better move. That's one tip that I can provide right now. Even if you do have an obvious move where you can move a piece to check your opponent's king, still look for a better move, which is what I did here with this sequence. King has to move, king d7. Now, here comes yet again another tip. Now, when you're analyzing this position, when you're analyzing the board here, you have 2 pawns. Obviously, the value of 2 pawns is 2 points. Okay, but when you know you have your opponent's king on the ropes like this, look where the king is at. He has really nowhere else to go. So if you can score a checkmate here within the next couple moves, you got to do it. So don't be afraid to make such a move like the one I'm going to make right now. Rook takes pawn c6. Yes, a rook sacrifice. B pawn takes rook c6, and then the final move of this game, queen takes pawn c6 checkmate. And that's checkmate because the king cannot go anywhere. Can't go here, can't go here, not here, not here, not there, not there. And he can't block. So, like I said, that was a quick, speedy game between myself and KOS 64. It was quick and hard hitting, but it was something that I can look back at and say, yeah, this was a pretty interesting game to evaluate because many times when I get into positions like this, it's not like I go with a predetermined plan that I'm going to overload on one side of the board, but it just so happens that as the game progresses, I find myself wanting to overload one side of the board with various pieces, such as what you just saw in this game. And as you saw, this is the result. This is the end result. So, way back when, B4, it started with B4. Uh, this is like one of the more unsung openings that you can use as white. I've played it like hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times, the Polish opening, and I find nothing wrong with it. One tip here when it comes to the Polish opening is that if you're going to play b4 on move number one as white, just be prepared to move your pieces accordingly that revolve around the b4 pawn. What I mean is, let's go through this real fast again. b4, e5. Don't worry about this bishop taking the pawn. Don't worry about it because your next move most likely would be bishop b2 because you're going to counterattack this pawn right here on e5. So if he takes, don't worry about it. You take back. Queen e7, a3. If you have like an ongoing threat to this pawn, simply protect it. Even if you have to bring your a pawn and c pawn to protect this b pawn, go ahead and do it. And just roll with it. That's my best advice when it comes to protecting that b pawn following the Polish opening. d5. And when your opponent does this, loads up on the center, don't worry about it. You have to slowly play through it in order to get a grasp on what's going on with your opponent. e3, bishop f5, and then bishop e2. You just slowly develop, and then of course you castle. That's really what it is. So I hope you guys get something out of this game. I will provide a link to this game in the description box below so you guys can follow along during this video and even after this video. Let me know what you guys think of this game, and if you guys would like to play a game of chess against me online, leechess.org is obviously one of them. So feel free to play a game against me there. So this is Stephen Vitt, coming to you with chess-related content, and I'll be back with more later. Take care.